earlier it was suggested to me by a few people that they seem to think that I don't enjoy films without explosions in, and the only type of film I enjoy is that with an explosion in. That is in fact incorrect, and I do like films without explosions in. For instance, I saw 2 films last night, and they did have explosions in, but the first film I saw was called, I can't remember what it was called, it was Phoenix of the Night, Night of the Phoenix, Journey of the Phoenix perhaps, and I joined the film 10 minutes late, but when I joined it there were people and they were flying somewhere, but the plane kind of crashed, and it crashed into the desert, and the pilot was very good, and he managed to land the plane safely whilst it was crashing. He managed to kind of glide it into the desert without many fatalities, which was very good. But that did cause the problem, obviously, of them being stuck in the desert and without kind of any chances of being rescued or helped. And they kind of looked up at the pilot and thought, you know, what do we do now? We're kind of stuck in the desert, and what do we do? And the pilot, obviously very laid-back guy, he was like, well, you know, we've got a 5% chance of being found and rescued, so let's just sit back, let's just sit tight and wait. And the people didn't like that, and one of the guys piped up and was like, I'm a plane designer, and I can design us a plane to, if we design the plane, and then I design the plane and we build it, and that way we can fly out of here. And there are people really up for that, like, way, let's, you know, build a plane and fly out of here. And the pilot, being the laid-back guy that he was like, no, let's just, you know, sit back, let's just, whoa, you know, chill out a bit, because if we build this plane, we'll obviously use up more food and water, and, you know, we won't survive for as long as, you know, we can do if we don't build this plane and waste energy. And some of the people really didn't like that, and they were like, right, we're going to protest, and in protest they stormed out into the desert. Obviously not the greatest form of protest in those conditions, but that's what they did. And there was only one lady on board the flight, and she was like, right, I'm going to go after them. And the pilot was like, no, I'll do it. And he went out, and he found them eventually, and he was like, guys, come back. And they were like, no, we promised the people, we gave them hope to go find help. And the pilot was like, you're an idiot, we're out in the middle of the desert, where are you going to find help? And they're like, well, just over there. And they're like, no, you know, there's desert over there as well. And they're like, okay, fine. And they had a conversation, and one of the guys came up with this really emotional speech and said, if you can give a man something to love, then, you know, that will give him a purpose. But if you can't give him something to love, give him something to hope for. And if you can't give him something to hope for, give him something to do. And the pilot obviously was very moved by that speech. And I was like, all right, let's go back then, let's build this plane. So they walked back and they presented the people the good news, like, we're building a plane. I was like, hey! So they started building this plane, and during, you know, they'd nearly completed the plane was ready to be tested. And the pilot, you know, went through the designer's briefcase and, like, pulled out a brochure, and he was like, hey, is this the company that you work for? Is this the company that you design planes for? And the designer was like, yes, it is. He didn't speak like that, by the way, but it works for the purpose of this video. And, you know, the pilot started looking through this brochure, and he was like, you do realise these are model planes, not actual aircraft, actual, you know, planes that carry people. And I was like, yeah, it's the same thing, really, you know, you can, you know, it's the same thing. You know, it's a plane, model plane, same thing. And, you know, the pilot was like, this isn't the same, this is, what is going on? And, you know, there's a huge uproar, and they have a brawl, and they're just about to kill each other, and there's a hurricane. I was like, oh, okay, let's, you know, go back and shelter into the plane, and the wreckage, the plane wreckage, not the plane that they just built, and they shelter in that. And, yeah, the hurricane goes away, and they come out the wreckage, and they're like, right, let's test this plane out then. So they're just about to test it out, and you know, just about to, they managed to get it starting, managed to get it working, they're about to fly off, when 7,000 horse rebels turn up, desert horse rebels, obviously people on the horses, not just evil horses, and they, you know, they're all got machine guns and stuff, and, you know, they've really, because earlier on in the film, these plane campers, they really, you know, peed off the desert people, because coincidentally there was a you know, rebel camp in the middle of the desert, and they went over there to ask for help, because coincidentally one of the people that was on board the flight managed, you know, was able to speak their language. But that ended up in a gun battle, and one of the rebel troops managed to escape, even though there was about 100 rebel troops compared to about 2 people of plane camp. And still, they managed to shoot, even though they had 1 gun and the rebel troops had about 8,000 machine guns between them. They still managed to kind of kill them all, the plane camp people, that is. They managed to kill the rebel troops. But one of the rebel troopers managed to escape on a camel. Now, I don't know about escape vehicles, but camel, not really the most speediest escape vehicles. I'm not a camelologist. Maybe you are. Maybe you can tell me the speed of camels. Should have really researched this. But, you know, he escaped on a camel. And even though they had all these guns now, the plane campers, they could have shot the rebel down. But they didn't, and he escaped on a camel. And obviously he went to get all these horse rebels. So the horse rebels, well, you know, they were viciously going to attack them now. They were going to get their revenge and their own back, because they saw that they stole their pouches of water. So, you know, they were kind of speeding towards them on horseback, ready to really, you know, kill them. And they managed to get the plane started, and they started flying off. And just before the plane camp, just before the horse rebels managed to reach the plane, they flew off and took off, and that was pretty much it, really, apart from they had to fix the rudder. But they fixed that, and they flew off, and that was it, really. Way, they flew off and lived happily ever after. And if you want to hear about the second film that I saw last night, wait and look out for part 2. Thank you.